Stark,
Present.
Ludwig,
Present.
Salger,
Present.
Sharma,
Present.
Simmons,
Present.
Hedrick.
Present.
Okay, a quorum is established. Trustees Salger, Simmons are unable to attend due to work commitments, and trustee Harris is ill. Pursuant to the board's bylaws, all are permitted to attend if the member is physically present. Vote to allow them to attend by video or audio conference. Is there a motion to allow trustees Harris, Salger, and Simmons to join the December 6th and 7th, 2023 committee and board meetings by Zoom?
So.
Been
Second.
moved, been seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay,
Hey, Roger.
Oh, God.
additionally, in order to have a physical quorum present as required, I am going to appoint myself to serve as pro tem member of the Academic Matters Committee for December 7th, 2023 Academic Matters Committee meeting tomorrow. So Dr. Hightower, I'm on your committee. You better behave yourself.
Well, we may have to vote you on.
All right, well, there will be a public questions and comments portion available at today's meeting. It'll last up to 15 minutes, 3 minutes per speaker. Are there any persons wishing to speak today?
I have none.
Okay, the first item is the presentation of the SIU Flying Salukis. Dr. Kupchak, will you introduce this item?
Sure, Chair Gilbert. So it's my pleasure to introduce the coaches of the Flying Saluki program today. Nate Lincoln is a 2000 graduate of the SIU Flight and Management Program. He's a senior lecturer and has served many roles within the aviation program, including flight instructor, assistant chief, team leader, check pilot, and safety officer. After competing for SIU flight team for 2 years, he served as a coach and has been the head coach of the Flying Salukis for more than 50 years. Mike Lefevre was a student of the SIU aviation program beginning in 2006 and competed for the SIU Salukis. He currently works as a senior instructor for the aviation program, most often working with future flight instructors and conducting end of course check ride. Sydney Reimer is a seasoned flight instructor, bringing a wealth of experience and passion for aviation to her role. She recently ascended to the position of check pilot instructor, overseeing end of course check rides to evaluate students' aviation knowledge and skills. Sydney's aviation journey took off during her time with the Flying Salukis, where she dedicated a year and a half to competing at both regional and national levels. She's a proud graduate of SIU in 2022. Matthias Thompson is a flight instructor for the SIUC School of Aviation and assistant coach for the Flying Salukis. He graduated from SIUC with degrees in aviation flight and aviation technologies and spent 4 years as a competitor on the Flying Salukis. He decided to become a coach to share knowledge and skills he obtained while he was a competitor on the team. Thank you, coaches. And now I would request head coach Lincoln to please introduce his students. Floor is yours.
Our two captains will make the presentation today. It's Mateo Torres and Dane Snodgrass. So if you'd like to stand and kind of introduce yourselves and continue with the presentation.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mateo Torres. I'm a sophomore majoring in aviation flight and technology. I'm from California, moved to Chicago, and excited for the presentation.
My name's Dane Snodgrass. I'm a senior, hopefully graduating next semester. I study aviation management and flight. And yeah, I've been on the team for 3, 6, 7 semesters. And yeah.
Where you from as well?
I'm from the Rockford area, Byron, Illinois. All right. You want to
Stand.
You could, if you're more comfortable doing that, or you can sit down.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Is that okay?
I'll take this here.
So we are the SIU flight team, and we've already introduced ourselves. We can move on in a second. So we are the SIU flight team, otherwise known as the Flying Salukis. We are a competitive collegiate aviation team. We're not a registered student organization. I think that is due to the fact that we're not open to all members who would like to be on the team. We hold tryouts in the fall, where we select the most promising candidates. We are open to all majors, though. It's not just aviation, flight, or management or technologies even. We could have a math major join the team or anybody in the university. And we have 20 total team members right now, and we like to keep it around that number.
So a little bit about the team commitment to excellence. We practice for 8 weeks per season. So we have a season in the fall and the spring. We practice 4 out of the 5 weekdays. And then this consists of flight training and then ground training, total of 5 hours a night. And this is about 20 hours a week. Then closer to competition, we hold weekend practices for about 7 to 8 hours. So this ramps up to 40 hours a week. We're both full-time students, and everyone on the team is a full-time student. Some of us have jobs. And we're gone 10 days for each semester. And the seniors miss graduation in May. We do some off-season work led by Dane and I. And
So this is a little bit about our mission, goals, and values. We're here not to be selfish, but we want to improve ourselves. So our mission is to improve our team members. Our team structure leads down from the seniors, juniors, sophomores, and freshmen, where we educate more junior members to become better pilots and leaders for the industry. Our goals, we want to win another national title. Our last one was in 2015, and that's what we strive for. We shoot for the stars, and sometimes we hit the moon. We like to stay top 3 in the nation and keep our winning streak for regionals. You can see our values here and our vision. We want to do our best to keep SIU in the best light as possible. When we go to nationals, we compete against the best of the best aviation programs in the United States, and we want to keep ourselves up there.
so kind of going off what Dane said, here are some of the ways that our mission is shed to light when you look up the Flying Salukis SIU flight team on the internet. These are some of the things you'll read. And not only does this highlight that we're a high-level elite flight team in the United States, but it also shows that we're an elite level flight school.
A little bit about our history. The SIU flight team started in 1977. We have 9 national championships. We've been top 5 for 14 years in a row. At nationals, we've been the top regional school for 12 years in a row. We have a very large network of previous Flying Salukis who love to volunteer their time at competitions, and we also see a lot of them during our aviation career fairs. So very nice to network there. And then I told you a little bit about how the team works. You can see that you go from team member to student coach to coaches, and then out in the industry, if that's what you choose to do.
So the association that we compete under is called NIFA, National Intercollegiate Flying Association. Some brief history, they were founded in 1928. But before that, there was a group of young aviators that came back from World War I, and they were interested in kind of hosting a competition of like aviation events. And in 1920, there was the first like meeting of events. And then in 1928, this was founded as the National Intercollegiate Flying Club. And then in 47, it was the National Intercollegiate Flying Association. And as you can see on the board, it promotes safety, advancing aviation education, and it's like an arena for college level competition. In the spring, or in the fall, like I said, it's regionals. So there's 10 regions. We're in region 8. We compete against Purdue, Lewis, Indiana State, Middle Tennessee State. And the winners of those, like the top schools, top 3, top 4, sometimes go to the national competition called SafeCon, the Safety and Flight Evaluation Conference. And we compete for number 1. There's about 30 schools that usually compete, and it's a lot of fun.
You can see a little bit about some of the NIFA member schools that will see a majority of the time when we do go to SafeCon, which is usually held in the Midwest so that, schools from California don't have to make the trip all the way over to the East Coast or likewise. It's gonna be at Janesville this year, and it was at Oshkosh last year.
So here are common sponsors. They show up to the national competition a lot. They show up to some regional competitions. This is great. They sponsor the events and they set up booths. I think at nationals, there's about 15 to 20 sponsors. And they send their ambassadors and professionals in the career that the members can talk to, share flight team stories with, talk about the industry with. And they sponsor the events, so like the winners of certain events get prizes from these sponsors, and it's great.
And here's a little bit about the events we do. These are our core 3 ground events that we spend a lot of time on. I'm personally an E6B scan, so is Mateo. The E6B was a flight calculator created in about the 1940s range, used exclusively for flight calculations, time, fuel, and distance calculations, along with wind correction stuff on the backside and a whole lot more that I'm not going to really get into. We also have SCAN, simulated comprehensive aircraft navigation, where they'll give you a simulated flight to plan, and you have to plan just like that: fuel, time, distance. They'll also throw in a lot of regulation questions about the weather, and just anything about really being a pilot. And then there's aircraft recognition, which they will pop up a PowerPoint of aircraft. They'll give you 3 seconds to look at the aircraft, ranging all possible types, ever since the first aircraft that you might not even consider an aircraft, all the way up to today. And they'll have to guess the make, not guess, but make, model, and call sign.
Here are our main flight events that we compete with. So there's short field landings, power off landings, and navigation. The short field landings and the power off landings are precision landings. So you have like a line that you're aiming to hit, and it's kind of like golf, where the farther you are from that line is the more points you get, the lower rank you get. At regionals, Dan got first place with a score of 5. It's very impressive. And then the navigation event is there's a planner who plans a cross country with checkpoints, and you're graded by the 2nd and by the 10th of fuel. So it's a very precise calculations, and it's a lot of fun. Good crew management.
And these are our simulator events. We have simulator, IFR simulator, and CRM loft. Simulator is where they'll give you a course to fly. You'll fly a certain altitude, heading, airspeed, as well as different parameters where every foot you're off, you're gaining points. IFR simulator is similar, except you're flying a simulated IFR flight. You could be going from LaGuardia to Teterboro, and you fly that flight through. And then CRM loft is where you're working in kind of an airline crew environment. This is what they do during airline training. So airlines like Delta, United, American will usually sponsor this event and see how you and your teammate can work together as captain and first officer on the flight deck.
The last 2 events are pre-flight and message drop. Pre-flight is they'll take an airplane and they'll rig it. They'll kind of mess with the screws, wheels, instruments, stuff like that. And you have 15 minutes to find these discrepancies. Sometimes there's up to 50 discrepancies. A lot of the aviation tech students are good at this event. And then message drop is the fun event. It's usually the last event, and it's where we fly 200 feet above the ground, and we throw a piece of wood out and try to hit a target.
Historically, we are actually very good at message drop. And these are why we do what we do on the team, right? We get to advance our flying skills. Not everybody in the program gets to do what we do and spend all this extra time to advance ourselves. Along with that comes all of the ground knowledge that we build doing what we do. Like we mentioned earlier, the networking opportunities with previous flying Salukis and even other people that maybe went to other flight schools and competed on their flight team, we'll get to network with. We build friendships, we spend a lot of time together, so it's very hard not to become very close friends with the team members. You get leadership opportunities. Me and Mateo, I've been captain now this is my second year. And it's awesome to get that experience and what it's like to lead a team. The industry knows what a flight team is, especially the SIU flight team, since we've been how we are for so long. So we get lots of opportunities to, when you put that on your resume, people know what that is, right? Check rides. So a check ride is a practical test where you have an oral portion and a flight portion. These become much easier when you're on the flight team because you spend all of that outside time. We do build flight time. We get to log it, which is our final goal for many of us who want to move on to the airlines and are looking for that 1,000, 1,250, 1,500 number. It's a way for us to get there faster than the competition. We get to compete. There's no other way. Most of us that came to the SIU aviation program thought we were done competing in high school after sports. But if you do have a competitive spirit, it's definitely a way to express that. We get scholarships, opportunities through sponsors in NIFA. We win awards. The team likes to call it hardware. So we get to bring a lot of that home, hopefully, as you can see in this picture here. And it definitely gives us a sense of pride. We wear this jacket, kind of, you can think of it as your football team. You'll see it, some people, I swear, like never take it off. So that's funny to see, but it is a sense of pride that we get for doing work. Yeah. And that is the end of the presentation. So thank you guys for listening.
I have a couple of questions. First of all, how long have you been doing this? I think you said 50 years. You're not 50 years old.
15 years.
15, I said 50 years. Whoa.
I aged well.
How many members are on a team? Is it limited to 20?
It is not. We limited to 20 for different reasons or whatnot. It's sometimes harder to manage that a very large
Did you
team.
have to pass a test or what's the program to become a member of the team?
We have tryouts in the fall where we will introduce all of freshmen, sophomore, juniors that want to join the team to our core 3 ground events, E6B, SCAN, and REC. We'll have them take a test and see how they do, and then we'll hold interviews and try to manage who we want to bring up from there.
And I assume that the competition is both simulator and air, getting in the air, correct?
Not for the tryouts, but the actual competition.
Actual competition?
Yeah, all of the events that you saw.
Okay. The only thing I'd like to say is that when Chancellor Lane and I play golf at Hickory Ridge, if we hit the ball too high, we don't want to hit one of your planes. Land.
They're always over that.
They go right over the court.
That driving range can get sketchy.
Trustee Tedrick and I grew up here, and we can tell you that the SIU flight school and flight team has been one of the premier programs this university has ever had.
And we're proud of it.
Yes.
You want to say something?
Yeah, we're proud. I got a couple questions. First for you guys, did either one of you train under David Newmeyer?
Neither one of us probably trained underneath of him, but we're very familiar with Dave, and he was a big supporter of our program, and we attribute a lot of what we are now to his support.
I had 2 classes that he taught when I went through the program.
For you guys, you said you had 20 people on a team and they try out and they don't have to be aviation majors. How many on that team are not aviation?
I don't know how many people we've ever had that aren't aviation majors. It's just not limited to that. So for example, the E6B event, it's a lot of like mathematical calculations where if you have that mindset and you can do math very well, you would
But you have
probably
to train
excel.
ahead of time, wouldn't they? I mean, you couldn't just.
For
get in.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, it does take time.
be hard to imagine somebody not having an aviation background.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah, you'd just be limited. So, I mean, a lot of our team, some team members aren't pilots when they join as our
Yeah,
best
that
example,
makes sense.
where they don't do the flying events, but they do.
The last question too, is double. The first part, in this region, who's your biggest competitor?
In this region, Purdue and Lewis are usually pretty close. Yeah,
What about national?
nationals, the University of North Dakota and Embry-Riddle, Prescott, Daytona, Air Force Academy are usually up there.
They should be, shouldn't
Oh, Probably.
they? Thank you.
Any other questions?
Well,
Yeah. Go ahead.
The one anecdote I would say is I was wearing a Saluki t-shirt while on a plane one time. I get off the plane and then the pilot who was coming up, I'm always sitting in the back, safer there. I get off the plane and the pilot says, "Oh, are you a Saluki? Do you fly?" And I say, no, absolutely not, but they're certainly good at it. He's like, "Yeah, I know they're good at it. They beat us about 3 times." He was from Purdue and he was working commercially, been out of school for years, but you still showed him, so good job to you.
Trustee Curtis?
I know we're talking about flight team today and congratulations for all your success. How many aviation grads do we have each year at SIUC?
Our current class is about 450 throughout the program. So my best guess would be to divide that by 4 and see what you get. Yeah.
And I'm sorry, there are
Yeah,
applicants turned away from the program. because There's
Yes.
not room for them.
yeah, we've had to recently deny applicants. There's 3 programs: flight, management, and technologies. But yeah, for flight especially, we have to turn away applicants because our fleet can't currently hold more than we have. Makes sense.
With the national shortage of pilots, I assume that everybody that graduates has a pretty good opportunity to gain employment.
Oh, yeah. When you hit your 1,000-hour marker, you won't be here for much longer. Sydney's getting ready to get out of here in what, December?
Maybe the end of the spring.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, once you hit your hours, if you want to move on to the industry, have that option for sure.
Each one of you, what are your aspirations when you get out?
I'm planning on going the airline route.
Commercial airline,
Yeah.
Airline.
makes sense.
Mhm.
And so you won't, how many hours do you guys have at this time?
I'm at about 650.
I'm like 300.
So it
But you're only some.
Yes.
Mhm.
takes a lot of time, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
I will say that, trustee, or any of the trustees that have not been to the facility out at the airport need to go see that facility. And I will say this, that probably 100% of the people that graduate from both the automotive and flight are almost instantly employable, which is a tribute to this university and the programs that they have and to the people that run the program. It's an outstanding program we have here.
From a safety standpoint, have we had any near misses?
We get reports, so, yes, that it's impossible to avoid. We've never had any
Any serious safety
fatalities,
events?
no fatalities in the life of the program. Very little injury, but we do our best. Great.
I don't know whether you guys were here, but many years ago, there was a student pilot that ran into trouble, had to land at Giant City State Park. Into the park. But there was a lot of land there.
Got to fill out a form or two after you did that.
More than one.
We had a trustee from Northern Illinois that the university plane picked up. Her and another trustee for the flight back here for a meeting. And it was a twin engine and one of the engines blew. And she did, and the pilot did a good job, and it was a student pilot and one of our regular pilots, he was from Galatia, I can't remember his name, but Keith Mortag. Yeah, Keith Mortag, you're right, did an excellent job, she never flew again. I don't think she ever came to another meeting.
Well, thank you folks
Yeah,
very
thank you.
much. Thank
Enjoy
you
it.
very much.
Good
Congratulations.
You folks have the rest of the day off now.
Okay, the next is an update on the review of the Board of Trustees legislation. Dr. Stuckey.
Thank you, Chair. We want to make a brief presentation today to inform you that Paula Keith, Rick Rader and I initiated a project last year to review certain board policies. And our three responsibilities, particularly in our responsibilities to organize and bring together the board meetings, we were called upon to frequently review board policies and interpret them. We find over the years that we all agree, all three of us agree, there's a need to review those board policies because there's a number of them that aren't as clear as they could be, and campuses interpret in different ways. So this past year, we began a review of board policies that deal with financial matters, facilities, procurement, and HR issues, to determine where helpful clarifications could be made. I don't think our initial discussions are, we don't think we'll go further than that, because we're not a group that I think is versed to deal with academic matters and student affairs. We've asked Kevin Bain, former retired Vice Chancellor of Carbondale, to help us with our review. He's been very, very helpful. He has already begun to ask for advice and feedback from the personnel on campuses. He'll continue to do that as we move forward. We anticipate that we will complete our review the middle of next year. We're not going to put a firm date, hopefully summer. And by that time, we hope to bring recommended changes to the policy for your consideration. We wanted to alert you early so that you wouldn't be surprised when we come in with a bunch of matters of change board policy. At this point, I don't think, we believe that it's going to be major changes. It's going to be clarifying wording here and there that just is not clear as it could be. Any questions?
Is there any state legislation that's passed that will impact on our review of the our legislation? And that might be more question for Luke.
Yeah, I think, Lou, I don't know, the stuff that's happening with the audit, legislative audit guidelines, that doesn't affect board policy.
I don't think that's gonna be policy, probably maybe university guidelines, but to your point, part of what had happened over time is a new law will pass, and so you have to make an ad hoc change to a piece of policy here and there, and so you go in and that change is made, but then it causes something else to be inconsistent or not as clear, and so that is played into it over time. Just as laws pass, you go in and change an ad hoc policy, so it's a piece of that, but not that would impact the review itself.
Okay.
And when was the last time there was a comprehensive review of board legislation?
Don't know that there ever has been.
Okay.
And this isn't, I wouldn't call this, it's going to be a comprehensive review of certain sections of it.
Yeah.
We aren't, I don't think we're.
There's been
We're
changes through the years.
Pardon?
There's been changes when something, the wording would come to light.
Yeah.
Legal counsel would say this, in a specific.
Well, and just last year, we took out the section that was added some years ago about employees making more than 150,000 had to go through a more rigorous examination. So, yeah, there have been changes. There has been a comprehensive look at a number of section of policy.
Okay. Any other questions of Dr. Stuckey? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Next, we will close the meeting to go in executive session. I move to close the meeting to the public for the purpose of considering pending, probable, or imminent court proceedings against or on behalf of the board, appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, and review of executive session minutes. The relevant sections of the Open Meetings Act statute that allow for the closed section are 5 ILCS 120/2 (C) 1, 2, 11, and 21. Do I have a second to the motion?
So second.
It's been seconded. Madam Secretary, please take the roll.
Curtis,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Hightower,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Salger,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
Cedric.
Yes.
Okay, we will now adjourn executive session.
And at this point, trustees, virtually, we will